This is Nia Perry, founder and CEO of Gradient Global Collective, and you're listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Welcome back, my dear listeners. I appreciate you more than you know. Famed cellist Yo-Yo Ma once said, "Passion is one great force that unleashes creativity. Because if you're passionate about something, then you're more willing to take risks." And we know that entrepreneurship is a series of risks, one step at a time. But the risks are even more challenging when there is no passion behind what you're doing. And our next guest is certainly a passionate risk taker. Ebonnie Rowe is founder and CEO of PhemPhat Entertainment Group. Canada-based PhemPhat Entertainment Group was formed in 1995 to foster the growth and education and promotion of women in all aspects of the music business, not only as artists, but as DJs, producers, engineers, managers, label owners, and promoters. For 22 years, PhemPhat has produced Honey Jam Canada, the successful all-female talent showcase, which also provides educational, networking, and performance opportunities to artists. Honey Jam Canada has grown to become a much-anticipated annual multicultural showcase of upcoming artists in all genres of music, where talents such as Nelly Furtado have performed at the beginning of their careers. Ebonnie introduced Honey Jam Barbados in 2011 to rave reviews and is excited to continue providing opportunities to young women on the island. A spinoff of the event, the Honey Jazz Barbados Festival, launched in 2016. Throughout her career, Ebonnie has distinguished herself as someone dedicated to the growth of others and the support of charitable causes. She has founded and directed organizations that cater to the needs of some of society's overlooked groups. In Canada, she started the Each One, Teach One, a mentoring program for Black youth. Ebonnie was recently chosen as a speaker at the Cave Hill School of Business Women's Leadership Conference and spoke at the invitation of the U.S. Ambassador to Barbados at the 2017 International Women's Day reception. Listed in the who's who of Canadian women, you gotta love a who's who, right? Ebonnie Rowe's work has earned her many awards, including a Special Achievement Award from the Urban Music Association of Canada, an Ontario Voluntarism Award, and the prestigious YWCA's Women of Distinction Award for Arts and Entertainment. And so we are very honored to have such a distinguished guest with us today. Welcome to the Gradient Global Collective podcast, Ebonnie.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be talking with you today.
We are very happy to have you. Thanks so much. So let's talk, Ebonnie, okay? Honey Jam Canada sort of came into existence after you produced a 3-hour radio special on Canada's largest hip-hop radio show in 1994, where you discussed how women were being portrayed in hip-hop lyrics and videos. In the 90s, it was the worst, right? So you were prompted to do this after complaints from the female mentees in your mentoring program, Each One, Teach One. So tell me, what were some of their concerns? And did you already sort of have the relationship with the radio station to be able to produce this special?
Okay, so let's go back in time.
Yeah.
So in the mentoring program, we had one-on-one profession-based mentoring, and then we had group mentoring for boys and girls.
Okay.
I managed the group mentoring for girls, which was called Sister to Sister.
Okay.
And my female mentees were telling me that their 5-year-old little brothers were calling them the B word and hoe, because they were hearing it in the middle of the day on hip-hop radio, which was college radio, and at that time it was not required that you had to have clean versions of songs.
Okay.
So they were hearing this and they were just mimicking it.
Yeah.
I don't think they even really knew what they were saying.
Of course not, right.
So I had received a number of these complaints, And I had also noticed the behavior of the young male mentees was kind of taking on this gangster, misogynist type of bravado, shall we say, where, there were lines in these songs like, "We don't love them hoes," right?
Right.
And so the idea of showing respect to a woman meant that you were soft or not being a man, or that whole mentality.
Sure.
So I did not have any relationship with the station or the DJ. I am just bold.
Yeah, I love it.
And so I saw him at an event, and I just went over to him and I said, "This is the result of the music that you are playing. I don't know if you're aware." And he was extremely receptive. I was really impressed. And he said, "Actually, I had not thought about that. Why don't you come on my show and talk about it?" I said, "Okay, great." Yeah. And then he said, "In fact, I'll give you the whole 3-hour show to produce, to discuss this topic."
Wow.
So here I was, a legal assistant by day, doing this community work with the mentoring program, doing other volunteer stuff. Like, my life was very full.
Yeah.
I never produced a radio show, but I just believe that if you complain about something, you would be kind of fraudulent if someone's giving you an opportunity and then you say, "Well, I'm too busy," or "I'm too tired." Giving me a voice, and a very large voice, as this would have been Canada-wide. So I said, "Okay, and I'll just figure it out."
Right.
So those were the things that led to me contacting the station.
Wow, good for you. And what was the kind of what was the impact that you think came out of that? Like, what was some feedback from your mentees or from just the community? How did they receive that special?
So let's remember that this is before the internet. So there's no social media.
Right.
There's no real way that you are really going to be hearing from the public unless they have your phone number.
Okay.
There's not even an email address.
Crazy, right? Oh my goodness.
I feel like I'm talking about dinosaur times now.
Right.
I can tell you what happened immediately following is that as I walked out of the station, there was a group of young men who were there to want to do harm to me.
No way.
At that time, hip hop was a complete boys' club.
Yeah.
And any sort of idea that you're going to question it or criticize it or anything like that was really met with a very harsh reaction. So I actually had to have someone come and step in front of me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
It is. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that's the reality of what happened.
Wow. Yeah.
There was negative feedback from some of the men in the hip hop arena, and usually the negative voices tend to be louder. So even if the majority of the response was positive, you hear those voices will scream louder.
Sure.
And then I got a call from the editor of kind of Canada's version of Vibe magazine. It was a national entertainment magazine.
Yeah.
They said, "We were listening to the show. We'd love for you to put together an all-female issue of our magazine and talk about some of these issues, feature some female hip-hop artists that are coming up." And again, this is something I've never done, had no experience in, don't need one more thing to do.
Right.
But it was another opportunity to get the message out.
Wow.
So I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I just, you just figure it out.
Right.
And so we did it. We had a rap party at the end of it to celebrate it. And we called the party Honey Jam.
Wow.
That's how Honey Jam started. It was just supposed to be that one night party and show.
Yeah.
And everyone said, "When's the next one? This is so awesome." And I said, "What? This isn't what I do."
Right.
But I thought about it after. There weren't any other female promoters. There wasn't any other space for women in the hip hop genre to be taken seriously and respected and feel safe. Because when Honey Jam started, because of how it started, it was very focused on hip hop.
Okay, okay.
Now it's multi-genre, and especially
Yeah.
after Nelly Furtado in 1997. But
Okay.
when it started, it was a direct reflection of what we were talking about in hip hop. So
Okay.
I thought that night, well, let me just do one or two, see how it goes, and here we are 22 years later.
Yeah. So there was no way for you to anticipate this sort of run, right? So how long, like, I know it's probably evolved in many, many ways, but what can you really point to and say, okay, I know in this area it has evolved the most? Would you say what genre wise, or like where has Honey Jam, how has it evolved the most over the past 22 years?
Well, genre for sure.
Okay.
And then with that comes the race and culture of the artists.
Okay, okay.
So the very beginning, it was probably 99% Black.
Yeah.
So once the genres opened up to folk and country and all different genres of music,
Yeah.
then we had all different cultures of women. So I would definitely say genre, cultures of women. The technology has has changed everything.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, when artists would be bringing a Polaroid, picture,
Yeah.
along with a handwritten bio,
Right.
now they've all got a website. There's so much do-it-yourself.
Sure.
Back then, we're talking about cassette tapes.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Now everybody's got a SoundCloud. It's so great for the artists because they can do so much more on their own. They can produce music, they can do everything. So that's a big deal. Women have moved up in powerful positions in the industry as well.
Okay.
We have a long way to go, but we've definitely seen change in all areas.
So let me put a pin in it right there. So wait, you said you were a legal assistant. So
Yes,
what
a
did
9 to 5.
you had a 9 to 5? So at what point did you leave that job then?
Ooh, not that long ago.
No way, really?
I was very much a zealot. I was
Okay.
very inspired and extremely passionate.
Yeah.
So I started the Each One Teach One mentoring program after one of my girlfriends committed suicide.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
want to I want to get into that in a little bit too. So
yeah, I'm saying that just to
yeah.
explain to you what
Yeah.
motivated this level of activity
Okay.
and this urgency and the sacrifice of my personal life.
Yeah.
So this took over my life. So getting up at 5 a.m, working during my lunch, working after work, working weekends, working holidays, just whatever it took
Yeah.
to get what needed to get done.
Yeah.
So
Wow. So
doing the
you
work basically of 10 people.
Of course, as entrepreneurs do, especially solopreneurs and Black women. Let's just wrap it all up in one thing. Nice little bow. That's what we do. Amazing. So you were, I want to definitely speak about your friend in a minute here. But let me kind of take it back to the event side, if you don't mind. So I imagine that over the years of producing such a large scale event, right? First in Canada and then moving it into Barbados. And I know your experiences in Honey Jam, and then I was also reading about you that you organized at one point a huge fun run in Barbados for
Yes.
an organization called Auntie Olga's Needy Children's Fund. So,
Yes.
what are some, because I know some of our listeners are into event planning or they may have an idea for an event. So, what are a few sort of like tactical tips, right, that you can share with our audience on how to produce such a large scale event? Like, what are some things they can start out doing? I know you kind of learned as you were going, but are there some things that you
Yeah.
wish you knew then, you know?
Wow. So when I did that fun run event, I'd never done an event like that in my life.
Okay.
And my client basically gave me a shoebox and said, okay, bye.
A shoebox full of what? What was in the shoebox?
Well, some of the years that they had done it before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so I just had to kind of sift through that.
Yeah.
It really takes a specific type of person
Okay.
who thinks in a specific way.
Okay.
Not everyone can do it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to think ahead. You have to be able to pay extreme attention to all of the minor details. You have to be very resourceful. So not everyone can do it, even if you give them a playbook, you know?
Yeah.
And it was something that I didn't even realize was such a specific skill until I started doing it and tried looking for help and realized, you know, how many people fall short in just not getting it.
Wow.
So you have to be able to see the big picture as well as the very small, minute details. That is very key to me across the board of any kind of event. You have to be able to look at the timelines and think, okay, I'm doing this event, and work backwards from the end and work forwards from the beginning. So if the event is this date and I need people to sign up and register, then it means I need to start promoting it on this date, which means I need to have the flyer done by this date, which means I need to contact the graphic artist and give them the information by this date. I need to have a draft by this date. I need to get it to the printer by this date. How long is it going to take the graphic artist to produce it? How long is it going to take the printer? Like all of those minor details.
Right.
And you have to map it all out with a lot of specificity and timelines.
Yeah. Do you think you were were you sort of wired that way, if you will? Like, do you think in detail like that in general, or is that something that your skills sort of got sharpened over the years?
I think kind of part of me is wired that way.
Okay.
And a lot of it I also did learn as I was going, or sharpen as I was going along and learn more as I was going along.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to shut it off.
Okay.
So, like if you say to me, Ebony, let's have lunch next week. To me, that's another event to organize.
Okay. Okay.
So I've got to find some different restaurants for us to go to, and then in trying to figure out what restaurant, I'll check to see what is the weather looking like for next week to know, can we sit on a patio or not?
Okay.
Like I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, you do think in detail then.
Yeah. And then when I go to an event, so, you know, someone who is, say, a saxophonist, if they are listening to a band.
I'm sorry, did you say repeat that?
Saxophonist. If they play the saxophone.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right. So when they're going to a jazz performance, many of them will find it hard to just sit there and relax because they're an expert in that and they're going to be listening to every note, and things that we aren't going to hear, a mistake or something, is going to ruin the performance for them.
Okay.
So it's the same for me. I'll go to an event and I'm like, why did they put the sign-in table there?
Right.
Or they should have had the signage here. Why are they doing that?
Okay.
Or the music is to this, or where's the sound man?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Ebony, calm down.
Oh God, note to self, Ebonnie Rowe is not coming to my events, okay? That invite will not be in the mail, Ebony. Unless you're helping me plan it.
I wish there was a pill I could take to just shut all of that off.
Yeah. But this is why you've been successful,
so Ebony, what did you think of the event? Like, they really just want to hear great, right? They don't want to hear my 10 pages of notes.
Right. Oh, Ebony is not coming. I don't care if it's like just a birthday party. You're not. I'm kidding. Oh man. Okay, those are really solid tips, Ebony. Thank you so much, because I think a lot of people don't understand how much it takes to plan an event, especially to the scale. Because how many attendees do you typically get, like at a Honey Jam?
Well, at a Honey Jam in Canada, it's about 700.
Wow.
In Barbados, it depends on the venue. We've had it at a venue that held 1,500. The venue we're using now is 500.
Okay.
But that Fun Run event was 5,000 people.
Wow.
So that's the biggest event that I've ever done.
Wow. And so this was prior to Honey Jam even?
prior to Honey Jam Barbados.
Okay, okay. Oh, so it's kind of in between Honey Jam and Canada and Barbados, somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, it was probably about 10 years after I had started in Canada.
Oh, okay, I see. Wow. Okay, so let's go back a little bit, sort of to when you were growing up. Were you born and raised in Canada or Barbados? And then what was that like? And also like
I was
living.
born
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Montreal.
Oh, okay, okay,
Um, we spent about 4 or 5 years there. Then we moved to Ottawa.
okay,
Spent about 3 years there. I spent most of my life in Toronto.
okay,
Lived in Barbados for about 3 years when I was a child. Both of my parents are from Barbados.
okay.
So I have citizenship by descent.
Nice.
So that's why I'm able to, be there and not have to worry about a work permit or anything like that.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
most of
So,
my life, though, was spent in Toronto.
oh, I see. Okay, great. So living in both of those cultures, like I imagine the pace is vastly different. How do you think that that's like affected your ability to sort of work with different cultures or different types of people?
Mm. So yes, it is very different. And the people who know me well in Canada, when they heard that I was going to be in Barbados, they were like, "Whoa, Ebony, I don't think they're ready for you, and I don't think you're ready for island time."
Mm,
And I really did not anticipate what the difference would be. So when I was first there, before I would do my own events, I would do events for other people. So I would quote them based on the amount of hours I thought it would take. And that was based on my North American experience.
mm-hmm,
So then I would sign off on an amount for the contract, and then I would experience island time.
mm-hmm,
And while I was punctual and I was on time and everything was, moving forward on my end,
mm-hmm,
flyers and people that I was working with, OMG.
mm-hmm.
It was like 4 times the amount of hours that it would take for me to do it in Toronto.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was a very interesting learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
So then I factored that in to all of my future quotes with clients.
Yeah.
I'm not the most patient person.
Okay.
So it is, every day I just try to be better. But at the same time, I don't believe in dumbing down or making, lowering my standards, which I think that, so if someone is always late, I'm not changing my my standards, right? Then I just may not want to do business with them,
Mm-hmm.
or just find someone else, because I just don't think that it should be accommodated on a professional level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even as a patriot to Barbados, I think that when you don't call something out, then it's like saying it's okay. And
Mm-hmm.
that each of us has a responsibility to hold people accountable and to encourage everyone to step up and be better. Like, I don't think it's a positive thing to be known as always being late or being disorganized, or it's going to take you 2 months to ever hear back from them. That's not a positive thing. So I don't really laugh that off, and people would say to me, "Oh, Ebony, that's just Barbados." And I would say, "Well, not my Barbados.
Right.
Right? I'm Barbadian as well. And that's not the reputation that I want for myself personally or for my business, or to be known that way on an international stage. I'm thinking globally. We're all citizens of the world. And they're just basic operating standards that I think we should all adhere to."
And I think
So,
you raise people up too, right? You raise their expectation
exactly.
up as well, and you make them more professional and more on the ball. I 100% understand what you're saying. My father's from Trinidad, and my father is as talented as it gets when it comes to like mass design, costume design,
Hmm.
and you know, I've because I've literally grown up in, with him doing this. I've seen it all, as far as, oh, Yeah. I got you. I have you. I have you. And it's like, wait, what does that mean exactly? Like, let's be
Exactly.
specific. Let's put some parameters around this. So I totally get it. I really, really
Yeah.
do. And so
And
how?
so,
What was the reaction? Like, how have people sort of
oh,
received
I
you?
was going to say it doesn't win me any friends.
Yeah.
Or when someone would say, Ebony, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes, I would say, is that Bajan minutes or
Right.
international minutes?
Yeah.
I'm
I did.
very
I'll
specific
come
because I
in.
don't have time to waste, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
exactly. Someone told me that, and 2 years later, I still haven't seen them. You know,
Okay.
so people they don't like it. Nobody likes it, but
Yeah.
I don't have time to waste. Time is money,
Exactly.
and so it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have the need to be liked. I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm running a business.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I try to do it with kindness. If I'm hiring you, I'm not going to be very kind.
Right.
I'm paying you to do something. But outside of my own company, I try to be firm, but, not overbearing with it.
Sure.
But I don't have a problem with making it known because I think it makes it better for everyone.
Yeah. That's great. Good tips. Thank you. So let's switch gears a little bit. More of a serious note. I did understand that while you were a student at the University of Toronto, that a friend of yours unfortunately committed suicide. I'm so sorry to have read that and to learn that about you, Ebony. Um,
Thank you.
how has that devastating loss sort of impacted your life? I know you made a conscientious decision in your life, but let's talk about that a little bit more.
So it was 1990,
Mhm.
and I was studying English literature at the University of Toronto.
Mhm.
Um, Prior to that, I had always been community minded. That's how I was raised by both of my parents. I'm a student of Malcolm X. I
Mm.
always believed in taking responsibility and helping and being community minded. But after this tragic event, it just spurred me on to do a lot more.
Mm.
So I dropped out of university immediately. Somehow studying Shakespeare just did not seem important.
Mm.
I just felt that I had to hurry up and do something that had some meaning.
Mm.
I was immediately aware that we could all be gone in an instant
Yeah.
with no warning. And I thought, well, if I was gone today, what has been my reason for being here?
Wow.
What have I left behind? What is my legacy? I became obsessed. And so that's how Each One Teach One came out of that um, need to give back and to do something positive for other people.
Yeah. Well, nothing else would spur you into doing. I mean, do you feel like you would have gotten to that place, or do you feel like that just sped the process up? What do you think?
Not, I don't know if I would get to that place in that intensity. What
Okay.
I would have just continued doing what I was doing,
Yeah.
which was helping other organizations, just going, putting in a few volunteer hours here and there, and then getting on with my life.
Right.
But not, the amount of sacrifice of my personal time and energy and effort to totally do something that I was powering. I don't know if I would have gotten to that point.
Hmm.
You really have to be so inspired and so passionate, and uh, I don't know that would have happened. This was a pivotal, life changing
Hmm.
moment in my life.
Okay. Yeah, understandably so. Well, thank you so much for sharing that part of your story. It's going to impact someone positively on this show, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
And
let's.
and it was
Mhm.
and it was a positive thing that came out of her passing,
Yeah. Wow.
too, right? So that was
Right.
another thing in the thinking of it,
Okay.
because she was that type of person as well.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
so it was also kind of a tribute to her, not wanting her passing to be in vain, and all of us just looking more at ourselves and doing that navel gazing.
Yeah. And I bet she's been with you all the time, the whole time with it. I bet she's kind of that is a way to really honor her legacy, and I'm sure her spirit is grateful, as is her family, for that. So
Right.
so let's talk about entrepreneurial resiliency, Ebony. You don't get to go through 25 years of entrepreneurship, 22 years of entrepreneurship without a few gut punching experiences, I'm sure. So talk about how you sort of pick yourself up from like debilitating disappointments, and how can our listeners do the same? What do you suggest?
So I want to be clear
Hmm.
that I am not a superwoman and things don't bounce off of me. And so when these devastating things happen, like when you lose a major sponsor,
Mm.
or like just so many things that happen during events that can be catastrophic, I do cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to be peeled up off of the floor.
Mhm.
Um, and then very quickly, you have to go into solution mode.
Okay.
There is not a lot of time for pouting and crying.
Mhm.
um, so, yeah, you just have to be like, okay, how do I get through this? It's very important to keep your mind focused, um, and to be positive, because the energy that you're putting out to people is very crucial in
Mm.
terms of what comes back to you and how you
Mm.
come across,
Mhm.
even on emails.
Okay.
It,
Yeah.
it will, the language that you use, it will be picked up. Your energy can be picked up through the written word as well as through the spoken word.
Yeah, that's so
So get
true.
your mind right and start believing what you want others to believe, which is that you got this, you can do this, you're going to find a solution. Remove your ego
Mm.
and reach out for help.
Okay.
I've seen people just, just out of hubris, not be able to admit that they are in crisis and that they need help.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit there and let everything crumble around them or try to fix it themselves when there are so many people who would be willing to lend a hand.
Yeah.
So you're looking for that solution. You're looking to reach out to others for help. You also reach out to others for encouragement and support.
Mm.
A lot of times being an entrepreneur is very lonely.
Yeah.
Many times there are one person armies
Yeah.
sitting there in their living room up at the
Mhm.
table with their little desk and the
Mhm.
computer, and it's just them. And it can be very isolating. So you don't necessarily always have a team to be like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to
Right.
whatever,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I have my touchstone people who I can call at any time of the day or night.
Mhm.
I can be bawling if if that's how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
My pick me ups,
Yeah.
you know, who, they'll come over and meet with me. They'll take me out for lunch or whatever, just to lift my spirits.
Yeah.
So I find that those things are crucial.
Yeah.
And um, something I call camouflage,
Okay.
which is there are many people who don't need to know that this crisis is happening. So uh, at your event, if all of a sudden, there are a few artists that can't make it, or the drummer's not arriving or something, you have to find a way to make it seem as if this was all part of the plan.
Of course. Right. Right. Right.
People who are in the audience, it's just like they should never know.
Yeah.
As much as you can, keep it away from them. And when you go out and people see you, they go, how everything's going, you just say, fantastic.
Yeah.
And just figure it out so that, it just looks seamless.
That's awesome.
and nobody knows what the problems are, because you have your reputation and your brand to protect. And if you are a hired gun for someone else, you also have to take that into consideration.
Right, right, right. I love the camouflage analogy. That's perfect, Ebony. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So, oh, that was really good. I like it. So, over the years, you've given a portion of your proceeds from Honey Jam to philanthropic causes such as Big Sisters of Toronto, the Coalition for AIDS Prevention, and the YWCA of Toronto. So, what have you sort of personally gained, right, from financially supporting these organizations, whether it be just whatever that might mean to you? What have you gained from your philanthropic work? And also, how did you grow to become philanthropic, or was that something you sort of implemented from the start of Honey Jam?
Um, I've always been raised in a household where my parents helped others and were involved in the community.
Okay.
So that's just the way that I was raised. And I believe that you should also try to do as much as you can when you have an audience. So if I'm going to be spending a couple of months promoting something and I'm going to have different events to promote it, if there's a cause I believe in, then why can't I give them a table at my event where they can tell other people about it? It's not costing me any money,
Right.
and it's helping them promote to an audience that they might not normally have. And it's just ingrained in me to always do that. Lift as you rise, and I just believe in community service. I believe in volunteering, and I believe in honoring the great work that's being done out there. So for the last 10 years or so, we've worked exclusively with the YWCA because they kind of cover all of the different things that we used to support through different organizations. So now we've been exclusively with the YWCA. And it's a great organization, and it just feels like the right thing to do. So I guess what I get out of it is a sense of fulfillment and of doing something positive. But I really believe in it at my core.
Yeah. Do you recommend that to people just starting out, even if they have sort of small operations? They may feel like they're not making enough revenue to be of service or financially service. What do you suggest for someone who may feel like, well, I don't have, a lot of resources to provide to an organization, financial resources? What are some things that you feel like someone who wants to serve as an entrepreneur, what can they do?
So when I was raising funds for the mentoring program, and I would ask people, and they'd say, oh, I don't have any money. And I would say, do you have a loonie? A loonie is a dollar Canadian.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they would say yes. And I said, well, and they'd say, well, I didn't want to insult you. And I said, it's not an insult. I said, every little bit helps.
Sure.
I said, but with that loonie, I can buy 4 stamps. Again, this is before the internet.
Yeah.
So that means I can send a newsletter out to 4 people that I might not have been able to before.
That's
and
good.
Maybe that newsletter, they're going to see the fundraising appeal, and they're going to give me $5,000.
Nice. I
No
love that.
amount is too little.
That's
No
good.
amount is an insult.
That's good.
Don't ever not do something. Don't make the decision for the other person either.
Yeah.
Right? Because as far as I know, there is no charity, no nonprofit initiative, no person who is going to turn away free money,
Right.
whether it's a penny or $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Right?
good. That's good. That's good. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Don't
Ebony,
put up
many.
unnecessary roadblocks.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, like I love that, and I even take that a step further, right? I love that what you said was, a loony $1 essentially, right, could buy 4 stamps. So I think, for someone to even I think that's a good tip for nonprofits to tell people like, here, if you give $10, it can do this, this, and this for our organization. So it still makes
Exactly.
someone feel good about the work that they're doing. Like, okay, I gave $10, that's all I could give. but I know that I'm at least contributing to that stamp for the newsletter. I love that. So that's
Hmm.
great. So many of our listeners, Ebony, are aspiring entrepreneurs or relatively new entrepreneurs, right? But if you had one piece of advice, I know this is sort of a loaded question, right? But just one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would you say? What would it be to them?
Um, for me,
Hmm.
I believe in being an entrepreneur. What you have to have is passion and belief in what you're doing. If you don't have either of those things, I don't see how it's possible to succeed, because you've got so much competition, so much opposition, so many
Hmm.
valleys and challenges that you would just quit after the first week if you don't have that.
Lord knows.
So, huh?
I said, Lord knows, I know.
Yeah.
That
So
passion and belief. Whew.
you must have that to carry you through, or
Yeah.
there's really no point.
Yeah, that's just exactly right. I think you just surmised it like all in one sentence. Perfect.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the willingness to be able to do everything,
Mm,
to be the first person there and the last person to leave, to pick up a mop if you have to. You
yeah.
can't have any ego about this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. That ego will get you in trouble. Especially as a new one. Who are you to have an ego? It's constant checking of yourself. Like I would even say that
Yes.
for myself. Like, get it together. Like you have to constantly check that ego at the door and say, you know what, I am a rookie. In fact, my someone that loves me dearly recently told me that they found that I was too humble, right? Like that I need to just be a little bit more um not braggadocious, but just, not be as humble. And I said, I know who I am. I'm very self-assured in my talents and my skills, right? But
Mhm.
I also know I have a long way to go. So who am I to, be to sort of beat my chest and say, I'm the bomb, I'm the this. I know who I am in many areas, but I also know that I'm growing and I'm learning every single day. So I think that humility goes a long way, and checking that ego at the door will serve you in so many ways. And it's just more attractive, would you say?
Yeah.
Like, when
Well,
you
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 have
want to
to,
work with someone who is a humble person.
and you have to be authentic,
Yeah.
but you also have to be able to be a champion
Mm,
of what you are promoting and what your entrepreneurial idea is,
yeah.
right? So if someone says to me, "Oh, so tell me about Honey Jam," and I say, "Oh, it's okay,"
Right.
and I have to say, "It's awesome.
Of course.
We've been doing it for this many years. The
Right.
artists are fantastic. You're going to have a great time,"
Yeah.
right? So you don't want to make it small.
Yeah.
You don't want to exaggerate, but you definitely need to show that you're confident,
Yeah.
because other people are going to respond to that.
Of course. Of course. Of course. I love that. Great. So, Ebony, let's talk about your brand, right? So you've developed a really strong brand over the years, a real global brand, in both, Canada and in Barbados. So how do you, keep your ideas, your fresh ideas flowing year after year? And it's like, how do you market your showcases, the auditions, the workshops? Like, what are some things that you do to sort of market all of these event-related activities that you do?
In terms of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
social media
Okay.
has been amazing,
Yeah.
and it keeps evolving all the time,
Mm-hmm.
so that now you can target to a specific demographic group through social media,
Yeah.
so honestly, and it's so affordable,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what everyone is doing.
Yeah.
I still sometimes do old school, and I do actual flyers, something to put in people's hands, which
Sure.
hardly anybody does anymore.
Exactly. There's value
But
in that. There's value in that
there
because
is
people are
still
not doing it.
value
Yeah.
to be able to hold it, to see it. They can put it up on their board at work, they can pin it there and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
There is still value in that word of mouth, going to different events and having booths there to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options now. Um, so yeah, there was another part of your question before you were asking about the marketing part.
Yeah, so how do you keep your ideas sort of
Oh,
flowing or
right. How do you
fresh
get the ideas? Right.
yeah.
I am always seeking out people who know more than me,
Okay.
people who have already done what I've done in terms of people who are in events and would be able to relate to me,
Mm-hmm.
and young people who are just coming up, who know
Mm-hmm.
the latest in technology, who've
Mm-hmm.
got their ear to the ground.
Yeah.
Um, that has been a blessing. I always reach out to other people. You go on social media and you see what other people are doing, you check other websites, and you're just open.
Yeah.
You're just open. So that is definitely how.
Well, that means that takes a level of really humility for you, right? Because I think that sometimes people, first of all, you look like a young person, like, like
I
us.
am young in spirit.
You are young, Ebony, and I am completely blown away by you, by the way. But for people, some people are threatened by young
Yes,
people and
yes.
young people's talents and abilities and know-how. So how do you prevent yourself from sort of getting in that sort of threatening mode, if you will?
I have never been a person that has ever felt that,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
I have worked for many, many people
Yeah.
who so clearly feel that. They are
Mhm.
so insecure and
Mhm.
they will shut down an amazing idea
Mm.
just because it wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that mentality. How do you get to be a person like that?
Right.
How is it not about the bigger picture of success?
Yeah.
What does it matter where the idea came from as long as it's
Exactly.
going to have a positive um,
Exactly.
end result?
Yeah, I agree.
I have always embraced, always, 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 people who were younger, people who had new and different ideas, people who were older. Now, it doesn't mean that the minute they say it, it means I'm going to do it.
Of course.
They have to, especially if someone is encouraging me to change something, change the way I've done something,
Yeah.
they've got to present a case to me,
Yeah.
right? And then if they are a part of my team, they also need to participate in us doing it this new way,
Right.
right? They can't just be like, oh, Ebony, I think you should do it this way. Okay, bye. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
let's work together
Let's
on
implement.
your
Yeah.
idea
Right.
to
Right.
help to execute it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'm all about it. Evolve or die.
I love that. That's a quotable.
Yeah.
Evolve or die. That's so good. That's really good. So through the journey, this journey has not been easy for you, right? What do you say what do you love most about what you do, and why?
Hmm. Um, I like to birth things,
Okay.
right? So I don't want a job where I'm just pushing paper and I can't see a result of what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I feel like I am a producer, so I'm working hard on these events and then I'm seeing them blossom.
Hmm.
That's very fulfilling to me.
Hmm.
And the same way that I work with youth and I'm seeing them grow and blossom as well. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm a gardener,
Okay. Okay.
but I that is food for my soul
Yeah.
to see these positive results. And I love music as well, and the power that music has to inspire and evoke emotions and feelings. So, and about the entrepreneurial experience, I love the freedom of it.
Hmm.
I love being the boss,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and being able to come up with an idea and move it forward. I don't have to ask
Right.
permission
Hmm.
for it, right? I can just move forward. And I love doing what I love,
Yeah.
right? So all of those all of those things. It gives me life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you don't see retirement on the horizon anytime soon then?
Never.
Never. You'll never retire.
I never see that.
Yeah.
To me, doing just the jazz festival is retirement.
Okay. Okay.
The day that I choose that I'm just going to be in one country and I'm going to focus on this one event,
Yeah.
that will be retirement for me.
Nice. So you think you'll retire in Barbados?
Perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got, a good 30 years still to go, so.
That lady who was doing the Needy Children's Fund that I did the charity fundraiser for, she was in her 90s.
She was in her 90s. Wow.
And she was in her 90s,
Yeah.
okay? And she had so much passion.
Right.
I remember I was doing a press conference with her and I said, "What time would you like me to have the car pick you up?" And she said, "What are you talking about? I'm driving."
I know that's right. Yes.
I would leave her at the event dancing with the kids.
Wow.
Like just throwing her cane to the side
Yeah.
and dancing. She was such a huge, huge inspiration to me.
Yeah. That's neat. Okay, Ebony, now it is time for our rapid fire round of questioning. We want to woohoo! We want to get beyond I love that reaction. I've never gotten that. I'm always getting like, oh no. We want to get beyond the business of it all and just get to know a few random facts about you. You ready?
Ready?
Okay. So name the top 3 mobile apps that you use daily.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I am a dinosaur when it comes to that.
No way. I don't believe that.
I am. I don't even use WhatsApp.
Okay. I don't use WhatsApp either. So there's that.
I can't think of any apps that I use.
But you use them without even realizing them, right? So do you get on Google every day on your phone? Do you?
I'm hardly ever on my phone. I am working alone in front of my laptop.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
you don't use any app. So what do you have on your phone? What apps do you have?
So I'll go on Facebook on my phone if I'm out.
Okay.
Or if I need to do that.
Okay.
But I'm not that person in this generation where they have their phone, they are tied to the hip with their phone.
Okay.
I didn't get a phone for the longest time. And then I remember my friends trying to reach me and they said, "Ebony, you have to actually turn it on." I just don't like this idea of this tracking device and having to look at it every 5 seconds. So like if I'm in a meeting with you, I'm not going to look at it the whole time unless I'm expecting an important message.
Sure.
I want to be present with people. If I'm going to the grocery store, then that's what I'm doing. I just hate the idea of just this looking down. I've been to dinners around the table where everyone is spending the whole time looking down, texting, and most of them are texting other people at the same dinner.
I cannot with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So how do you get to not? But now you said you're better now because how do you plan an event without having the device in your hand?
Because I'm spending most of the time in my office.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm in my office. I've got a landline phone.
Yeah.
I've got my computer, my laptop that I'm in front of all the time.
Right.
Dealing with all of my messages and stuff. So, yeah.
I would not have expected that answer, Ebony.
I know. I know.
Here's the next one. Okay.
Another thing that I do is, because I don't want to be bothered with having to look at a phone, on the day of an event, I will deputize someone to be my assistant and follow me around that day. And I give the suppliers her contact info.
Okay. That makes sense.
Let her deal with all of these things and come to me if she has a question.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's a good workaround.
I'm just telling the truth.
Sure. Okay, here's the next one. Would you rather skydive, scuba dive, or swim with the sharks?
Scuba dive.
Nice. All right. If a genie could grant you only one wish, what would it be?
Unlimited amounts of money.
I know that's right. Good one. Okay. Okay, here's one that I know you can relate to because we've sort of semi talked about this, right, at some point. What is your favorite Oprahism? Okay, that could be a saying that she may have said, an expression that she's done, an initiative that she's spearheaded or involved in. What's your favorite Oprahism?
Hmm. I think it's just just everything about her,
Okay.
what she stands for,
Yeah.
being a strong woman, overcoming the odds when
Yeah.
everybody said there's no way you
Hmm.
are going to make it.
Wow.
You're black, you're overweight, you know, there's never been a black female talk show host, and she just defied the odds and excelled. And all along the way, from the very beginning, she
Yeah.
thought about giving back. It's
Right.
such an inspiring story.
Yeah.
It's everything about her,
Yeah.
from being raped, like all of the things. So
Hmm.
many people use negatives that happen in their lives. I know this isn't rapid fire.
No, no, it's fine. Please.
So many people use negative things that have happened in their lives as excuses to treat people badly or excuses for their
Mm.
failure.
Yeah.
And other people use them to drive them to succeed.
Right.
That's what she did. And
Yeah.
she owned up to what her mistakes were. I mean,
Yeah.
not to say that she's perfect, but my goodness, she's an example. I wish if I could be a quarter of what she has done. And she just plows through. People will say stuff and she'll just keep going. It's like she makes a decision that this is what she wants to do.
Yeah.
This is what she wants to do with her money. This is what she wants to do with her brand, with her, what she wants to do for the world.
Yeah.
And she just does it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I really have a lot of respect for her. I love her philanthropy. I love her honesty. And she's just badass.
She is badass indeed. Okay, here we go. So say this phrase 3 times fast. Okay, I'm going to say it slowly. Black, back, bat. Go. Black, bat.
Black back bat. Black back back. Black back back.
I love it. I love it. Ebony, you have been so great. So, how can people connect with you, learn more about Honey Jam in Canada or Barbados? What are your social handles? All that good stuff.
Okay, before I tell you that,
Yeah.
I want to say that when you asked me about what I could have with the genie, and I
Okay.
said unlimited amounts of money,
Yeah.
I don't want it to come across like, superficial. It's just that money would just allow me to do so many, many things.
Ebony,
Like
nobody
Oprah.
was judging you for that. Everybody would say the exact same answer.
Would they? Okay, you never know. You never know.
No.
Okay, so how to
You're
reach
really
me?
philanthropic. We already know that about you, okay? So we know you would give, so much money away, but you would
Right.
still,
Now,
be living
not
lavish
to say
on
that
your
I wouldn't get a pair of Gucci
Of
shoes,
course. Or the
but
Gucci
I'd be able
store.
yeah, I'd be able to fund my projects and I'd be able to
Yeah,
help a lot of people.
of
So
course.
that's why.
Okay.
Now, how to reach me
Mm-hmm.
in Barbados, honeyjambarbados.com,
Okay.
on Barbados Twitter and Instagram at honeyjambdos.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, honeyjam.com is the website, and our Instagram and Twitter is at the honeyjam.
Nice. Perfect. Well, I'll have all of those on the show notes as well. And Ebony, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to you for spending a bit of your valuable time with me and the Gradient Global Collective podcast listeners. You truly exemplify the innate brilliance and moxie of Black women entrepreneurs globally. And I am honored to have gotten to know you just a bit. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be featured. This is awesome.
Oh, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Follow us and talk to us on Instagram at Gradient Global.